probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to push it a little bit harder. I'm just going to grab the fire extinguisher off the wall, put it next to the car just in case we do have an explosion. 300 series. It's no guess, it's one of my most favourite vehicles out there on the road today. What I said about 12 months ago was we're going to release more R&D videos about what we do behind the scenes here at Just Autos to ensure that the products that we build are fit for your use. First off, we're going to be running the 300 series through our new development of our sump, but we're also going to be putting it on the hub dyno and run it through with paces and really see if we can find the limitations of where this engine can go. We also have some nitrous that we've got aside, bigger injectors and so forth with this particular car to really start to get some fuel and air into this engine and really see if there's a breaking point here that we have not yet seen. So over the next few weeks, we're going to be releasing more R&D videos of the 300 series, so come along, have a look, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So first up, we're getting straight into the fun stuff. We're going to put some nitrous on this engine. So I thought today what we could do, which is a little bit fun, is go through the multi-mapping. We'll show you where the car is in standing form and where we take the car to in the highest tune. I'm not going to spend a heap of time on each individual tune and showing you guys. I just want to go, hey, this is a stock power, this is where we go. And then I want to show you where we can take the actual car as far as the choke point goes on these turbos. Once we get to that stage, then I thought it would be exciting to see how strong this motor really is and put some nitrous into it and then see what the end result and the power is from there. So it's going to be a fun day. I just wanted to showcase some of the gear that we have on the car that we use for testing. We have a Plex 2000 Plus, which is basically a cylinder pressure tester. It will give us an understanding of what the cylinder pressure is doing at every given time. It really allows us to optimize the timing and understanding about engine load. It's a crucial little bit of gear. It's one of those things that makes a massive difference to the understanding of what's actually happening in the combustion chamber. Obviously we have things like boost pressure set up here. We also have a Motec dash set up in the car as well, where we're externally logging some sensors. We originally had the Motec set up for a lot of the gearbox pressures, so we had every single port logged in the gearbox, and we also have external things like the oil temp and oil pressure, just to give us another understanding of what's going on in those areas. So that's something we're externally logging, and then we have our Easy Tune, which is logging every single variable that's on this car with the PIDs that are available, and that means things like our PID control system, our fueling, our boost pressures, EGTs, a whole lot of range of things that we have built into that. We have an amazing amount of data that's coming out of everything, and it's really giving us a really good understanding of what everything is doing. And that's the crucial thing. Data is king in any of these situations. There's no point doing R&D without data. Data is very, very important. It gives you understanding. It also, you can't hide from data. You know, it is what it is at the end of the day. And so that's something that, you know, I believe is the right way of doing things. So the more sensors, the more data you get, the better it is. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to run through all of those things and give a little bit of an understanding where we go from here. And there we have it, our blue bottle. Now, this has just been filled up, so it's been in the fridge overnight. Got our 10-pound bottle. It's all full, ready to go. This system is a dry kit. So in a dry kit, the nitrous means that there's no fuel added, it's only nitrous. So we're only able to use what's left in the cylinder. So if the cylinder, you know, already in the 300 series is already very efficient, it's going to be interesting to see by how much nitrous we add really does help. We have the ability to run, you know, a very large jet size. In comparison, people say, you know, it can be 150, 200 shot, 300 shot. We are not going to get, you know, 150 horsepower by adding a 300 shot to this car. We need the fuel supply with that. We're not going to add any more fuel. We're going to tune the car to the maximum power that we can with the closed loop system we've got with fueling, with the standard injector, and also with the PID control holding the boost pressure around 42 pound. Once we get to that stage and we know that that's the maximum we can get, we are then going to use the nitrous on top. That is where we're going to see what power we can really get by just adding a bit of nitrous, and it really gives us an understanding how efficient this engine really is. This is not something that we recommend, it's not something we do. It is purely just here for a bit of entertainment, but also a bit of fun. We are not concerned about the motor, but you know, definitely we're putting the motor under extreme load by doing this. This is something that works extremely well, and I've used Nitrous a lot over the years in different applications. It's extremely effective. It does work really, really well, but you know, it's something here just to give us an understanding a little bit about what the motor can do. So let's get it on, let's have some fun, and let's see if we break this engine. All right, so what we have here at the moment is part of the Nitrous kit. I've got the bottle sitting in the sun. It increases the pressure in that bottle. It just gives you a more allowable distance in what the bottle can give us. As far as what I've got going on here is these kits are set up to be in the car full time. Obviously, I'm not going to be running around with Nitrous in the car full time, so I'm just going to set it up so I can have it on a trigger switch so I can activate it when I want to in the car, and then once I release off it, the Nitrous stops and away we go. So we've already put a fitting into our Just Auto's intake pipe that's in there. It's in the same direction of airflow, definitely in front of those two turbos, which will help with cooling massively, and also give us the extra aid and power there. The Nitrous solenoid, I'll have it set up with a bottle beside the car, and then I run the wiring back into the car. And once I've gone through all the different runs and we're ready to hit it, we'll go through and we'll do that run and we'll see what it does. I guess everyone's probably asking how much Nitrous we're going to put into it. Back in the day, we had a fair bit to do with Nitrous in diesels. We've done a lot of it. And in this particular case, this is a dry kit. You got to remember nitrous oxide, a lot of the energy that comes from nitrous oxide is actually the fuel. You're just making it more efficient by adding the right amount of oxygen and nitrogen to that system to get a more efficient burn. So something here that I'm looking at the moment, the largest jet that comes in this kit is a 55, what they call a 55 size jet. That will give us around 130 brake horsepower is what they classify that is. Now, being in the diesel, we're already very efficient. I'm not expecting to get 130 horsepower out of that jet, but what I'll do, I'll start off with the larger one because I feel as though let's push it to that point and see what it will do, and then it'll be interesting to see what those numbers will roll out. So we just went through our multi-mapping, stock run, the tow run, power and power plus, which is all part of our multi-mapping. As you can see here, the stock power was 249 horsepower, and that was about 3,600 RPM. And if we come down to the torque, the most amount of torque we actually had in that setup was around that 630 Newton meters, right? Now, obviously this is again in two-wheel drive on a hub dyno, so it is slightly exacerbated, but what we're looking for is a percentage gain. So where we are from stock to where we end up being, and that's the most important part with anything. So having a look here, you can see the blue line here. This is our stock map that we run down here. You know, a little bit less torque and power off the bottom, and that's the first transition of the turbo. You'll also notice that the transition through the dip here on the standard setup is quite significant. So you've got a fair bit of, you know, hesitation between those two turbos. So this is where we start pushing things a little bit harder, and you will find that the torque off the bottom here is around that 700 Newton meters. So as you can see here off the bottom, and this is everything under 2100 RPM, we have a pretty substantial gain of around about 80 Newton meters just off the bottom there. That's about as far as I like to take this particular setup on that one turbo to push it there. We find if we push them any harder in that area, the turbo will start to surge and we'll have a few problems there. We just found that that's the happy medium, and with the ratio on the gearbox being a 10-speed, it just sort of works really, really well. As you can see coming into the second turbo, and we're past this point now, around about that 2330, where the second turbo starts to come in, this is where all the power happens, because now we're on the two turbos and we're starting to make a lot more power. Overall power on the big map that we went to, which is Power Plus, was 397, and that made 828 Newton meters. Now, when we're coming from the 530 Newton meters that we had in the twin turbo mode in that area, it's a massive gain in torque overall. Even looking at the tow map, which is basically the safest map that we're running, where a lot of guys tow in, we're still doing 328, and you can have a look at that torque curve there, and that torque curve through here is quite flat, and we're maintaining around that 655 Newton meters, and it's just flat through there, which is exactly what we want for a tow tune. We just want to be able to have that consistent torque all the way through the rev range, which works really, really well. as you can see, the map that we're driving around every day, we still have the same overall sort of power curve that we'd have off the bottom as all three tunes do. But however, once we get to that 300 RPM, that's when we're sort of tapering off that boost pressure, and that power is a lot less through there. So we're only making that 755 Newton meters, and I think overall was 359 horsepower. So that overall for where we were from factory, you know, we're more than come up, what's that, nearly 150 horsepower roughly. Massive amounts of gains there as far as horsepower goes. And if you look at the torque's come up, you know, considerable amount as well, which is showcasing how well they really do drive with our multi-mapping set in them. Now we're going to go and push these turbos to 42 pound. Did a lot of testing when the 21 model 300 series first came out, and we spent a lot of time trying to work out where we could take these turbos, and 42 pound is well and truly the choke point for this setup. So we're going to run them up to that boost pressure. We're going to see what sort of power and see if we can optimize the fueling as well as the timing to suit this particular boost pressure. Once we get to that point, we'll see what the figure is, we'll stop, and then we'll look at putting some nitrous on and really start to go down that road and just add, you know, that 55 jet in there and see what the results will be. So let's get cracking on that and we'll see how we go. All right, so we have done our run at 42 pound. As you can see on the dyno sheet, it makes a little bit more power peak torque. Rolls over to pretty much the same point in the back end, which means that, you know, we're just out of puff for the amount that we're pushing things. We did end up with a pretty substantial gain. It gives us around another 30 odd horsepower, 31 horsepower overall, but the torque has come up another 100 Newton meters. So we're now at that 914 Newton meters from the 829 that we were before. So nearly another 100 Newton meters more torque by adding that to that choke point. So you can see there, just with what people get with maybe just a remap with nothing else, most people would say a 30% increase. You know, to get 100 Newton meters, you definitely notice that. So running this at another 100 Newton meters more than what we send the car out with, yes, you definitely do notice that, but we want to build as much headroom into it as possible, still maintaining safety and give you, you know, the power that you want and need to be able to do what you want with the car. But overall, that's the sort of limitation of what the factory setup can do. There's nothing more in it as far as you know, optimizing in that. In our black car, we removed the catalytic converter out of the exhaust system, which is right in the valley of the motor. And we've seen around about another 15 horsepower increase. We actually got that car up to 441 horsepower and just shy, I think it was 1,001 Newton meters that it got to. You know, obviously we were pushing things a little bit harder in that car, but as far as this goes, I'm pretty happy with the results. That's what I would expect to see. Now what we're going to do is run the nitrous on it. But what I'm going to do is go back down to the 38 pound, and we're going to run the power and the nitrous on that. The issue I'm going to have is I've got to be careful of overspeeding these turbos. That is one thing. So I'm going to play with my PID settings and make sure my basically integral and all my derivative settings on the negative side and the proportional is really aggressive. So if it starts to overshoot and boost pressure, it's going to pull down and make sure that we don't have any of those issues, because nitrous comes on very, very aggressively. The next thing that we have to be careful of is obviously bringing the nitrous in too early and then causing too much cylinder pressure and snapping a rod, sending it outside the block, and catastrophic failure. So for this one, Joshy is going to have to jump out the way just in case something does pop and go bang. At least we won't be hurting the cameraman. All right, I'm just going to grab the fire extinguisher off the wall, put it next to the car just in case we do have an explosion. What do we get there? 481 horsepower. We're going to have to play with this to get another 20 horsepower. Surely we can get 500 horsepower now. All right, so probably shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going to push it a little bit harder. We'll put a bit more nitrous in. I think I'll drill that jet out and see if that can help us at all, and add a bit more fuel in and see if we can get another 20 horsepower. It'd be great to crack that 500 horsepower. So let's give that a crack. So we've just done the nitrous run, and what's really interesting is we made 481 horsepower. Now, The book says Jet 55 will make 130 brake horsepower. Now, I know that those numbers are always a little bit inflated, and this is a dry kit also. That Jet, from past experience using on diesels, is quite small, even though it states a large number. But also what's really interesting is putting that nitrous in there, we only gained around about that, 50 odd horsepower from where we were. So, which is really interesting because it's not really giving us a heap more. And what that tells me is that we're out of fuel and we're already very efficient as far as the engine goes in that tuning. So adding a heap more nitrous, we need a lot more fuel to basically get that nitrous to work really efficiently and make a lot more power. So I want to see 500 horsepower. I don't know about you, but I'm like, once I see that figure, we're not far away from it. So I want to pull the nitrous jet out, drill it a little bit more, see if there's anything more left in it. I'm also going to put a bit more fuel in, a bit more timing, and let's just see how much further we can push this thing. It's so close to being that number, and I think we can achieve it. So I'm going to get stuck into the tools now and do a little bit of magic, and then hopefully, yeah, we crack that 500. All right, so when you think you have everything here, I don't actually have a drill bit that will fit this correctly. So we're just going to pop down to J-Max and I'll jump in and raid one of their drill bits and get it to the right size. So let's go for a bit of a wander. Because it's so small, I always put the drill bit in the vise and put the nozzle in the drill. So what I did, I drilled this out to 1.5 mil. It's about 0.5 of a mil bigger than what it was. Yeah, we're gonna put that in and add a little bit more fuel and see if we can get that car with a nitrous to get over that 500 horsepower. Obviously, there's no real, I guess, anything for a customer to be doing this. This is purely just a bit of fun, just to see what the motor can do in power-wise. This is what we enjoy doing, just having a bit of a tinker and a play in the end. There's a lot of R&D, but running into this is really nothing more than just fun. All right, let's do this. It was so close. 491. 9 horsepower off. All right, 8 horsepower. 8 horsepower off. 8 horsepower. Are you kidding me? Not big enough. We've got to go bigger. Bigger? Yeah. I think so. I'll have a quick look. So we went 1.5. We're going up 0.5 of a mil, which is. Just saying, I'll do this and we'll get to 499.9. I guarantee it. It'll be funny. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Hopefully this is what gets us to that 500 horsepower. So I'm pretty confident that this will. We're now starting to inject a fair bit of nitrous, but yeah, I'm excited. So that's the smaller shot, which they equate to a 50 horsepower. And the one on the right is the one we've drilled. And I don't really know the number that's suitable for his power, but I'm guessing it's going to be closer to that 150 shot instead of the 100. All right, let's do this. Hopefully this gets us over that 500 mark. So I haven't actually put any more fuel in or anything like that. I just wanted to put a little bit more gas in and we'll see what that does. So. Oh yeah. $510 horsepower. That's super exciting. And we're still alive, the engine's still running. So we've got our 3 nitrous runs up there that we've done. And you can see the difference between all of them, where we've sort of come in and where I've hit the trigger. I've basically hit it in roughly the same spot each time. We wanted to make sure that we're around that 2800 RPM when we press the button. I wanted to make sure that the cylinder pressure was basically as low as possible before we hit it with gas. If I try and do that with huge EMP and having it before the second turbo comes on, I have at risk of damaging the engine, but also the turbos as well. So I didn't want to go anywhere near the area. It was all to do with the back end. And we made it 510 horsepower. So overall, you can see that the horsepower over that, when we went to that 2mm jet, we drilled it out and we made a pretty substantial difference over the whole power run. We've got more power everywhere, which shows that the nitrous is working quite well. Considering the size that we went to, which was around 2mm, running the bottle, putting it in the sun, getting the pressure up, gives us more nitrous at the end of the day, and helps with cooling the charge down of those turbos, helps with everything along, with air density, but also maximizing the engine efficiency by adding the nitrous in there. So, and you can see here now, we have a peak torque of 1,086 newton meters. Going over all of that, I just thought I would show this, put things into perspective. So it doesn't really matter that the car's on hub dyno, it doesn't matter it's in two-wheel drive, because our starting point and where we finish, all the same conditions. And that's what I really want to look for here. So the interesting thing is this car come in, we did the first run, it was 240 odd horsepower and 509 newton meters. Now in the same area, we are 504 horsepower in the same area. We made an overall power of 510. This is with nitrous, of course. Our torque has gone up from 509 newton meters to 1,086. So we've nearly come up 600 newton meters. That is massive, right, as far as where the car was originally. And it just goes to show that a lot of people were skeptical about these engines being weak and not being able to handle power. Well, I think this proves somewhat of a little bit of a point that the engines aren't as weak as people think and they can handle that power. However, that's a different question when it comes to longevity for towing and reliability and what you're doing with your car. So that's a different subject. When trying to cover that with the right oil, the right volume of oil in the car, the right cooling, and maintain inconsistency with the reliability of that car. This is just for fun. This is just showcasing what we can do with a bit of nitrous and where we end up. So overall, I'm pretty happy that this was a fun little exercise to carry out. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as much as I had playing with this car. So we're going to do a lot more testing on the 300 series coming up with a lot more other products that we'll be bringing out, so stay tuned for that. Testing is key to understanding about anything, and I believe the data is king, and I love analysing data and seeing what we can do with these cars. These 300 series are a lot stronger and better than what I believe a lot of people think. I know that when they first come out, there were some issues around it, but with education and understanding, we can always make a product better. And I do know that Toyota makes some brilliant engines out there, and I believe this is definitely one of them. So stay tuned for part 2, and you'll see a lot more interesting stuff come from this.